From trains that tunnel under cities to a mega project designed to uncoil a whole metropolis, the Philippines isn't just building transport, it's attempting a population reset. Before we plunge into the audacious plan to unclog one of Earth's most crowded capitals, tap subscribe because what you're about to see is a bet the country project that could redraw life for millions. Tokyo dazzles with 37 million people and a skyline that never sleeps. New Delhi, Shanghai, Dar es Salaam, and Cairo follow close behind. But none of these giants match Manila where it really hurts: density. Inside just 42 square kilometers, Manila packs in over 43,000 people per square kilometer, more than double the saturation of places like Macau and leagues beyond Paris or Mumbai. It's not just crowded, it's compressed, traffic choked, flood prone, and fragile when disasters strike. The question became existential. If Manila can't expand outward, can the Philippines expand Manila elsewhere? What does it actually mean to live in a city where density doesn't just measure how close your neighbors are, but how much every square meter of pavement, road, or sidewalk aches under the pressure of millions? Tokyo's size might command the headlines, but Tokyo spreads its vastness with careful planning, green pockets, and infrastructure so intricate that it absorbs the tide of daily life. In contrast, Manila is pressed so tight that neighborhoods grow vertically almost out of necessity. A single misstep in urban planning can trigger chaos. Here, a rainstorm is not just an inconvenience, it's a looming threat. Manila's streets are often submerged, its alleyways become rivers, and every new building feels less like progress and more like stacking another brick atop an already overburdened structure. As the city gasped for air, the existential question emerged. If Manila can't expand outward, can the Philippines expand Manila elsewhere? It's a challenge so fundamental it goes beyond civil engineering. It touches on identity, politics, and the very concept of what a city is supposed to be. Do you abandon the core in search of relief, or do you reimagine it, fortify it, and bet that the solution is not more space, but better connections? The answer the Philippines chose wasn't to stretch Manila's borders, it was to stitch the region tighter. From Valenzuela in the north to Parañaque in the south, with a spur to Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Think of it as a pressure release valve for a capital at the breaking point, rerouting commutes that took nearly 2 hours by car into 35 minutes underground and plugging directly into a wider rail renaissance. When the planners and visionaries drew up the future of Manila, they understood that the solution was not to simply spill outward, devouring farmland and turning every patch of green into another subdivision. They had witnessed what unbridled expansion does to other megacities. Sprawl leads to longer commutes, fractured communities, and eventually a city so spread out that it can't function as a coherent whole. Instead, they looked beneath the chaos and congestion and asked, what if the answer is under our feet? Thus, the Metro Manila subway became more than a transit project. It became a symbol of urban resilience and national ambition. Stretching over 33 kilometers, its tunnels promise to tie together neighborhoods, business districts, and even the country's main airport, places that once seemed separated by an eternity of gridlocked traffic. This subway is more than just concrete, rails, and stations. It's a lifeline. For the first time, ordinary commutes, those daily journeys that once drained 2 hours of life each way, can be transformed. What used to be frustration and exhaustion above ground, fighting buses, jeepneys, and endless lines of cars could be replaced with 35 minutes of smooth, efficient, reliable travel below. That's not just saving time, it's giving back hope, energy, and maybe even a sense of possibility to a city that's felt choked for so long. But the Metro Manila subway is also a key node in something bigger, a wider rail renaissance spreading through the Philippines. As new lines and upgrades thread out across Luzon, they create a tapestry of connection that might finally let Manila breathe, not by shrinking, not by fleeing, but by binding its people together in a new rhythm of movement, speed, and shared purpose. This is the project of the century, and its true impact won't just be measured in kilometers of track, but in the millions of lives reshaped by the simple act of going home. The transformation underway at Metro Manila is not merely a matter of laying more rails or building another subway. It's a wholesale re engineering of how a metropolis moves, breathes, and grows. The subway is just one pillar of a much larger repositioning. Layered onto this are the sweeping arcs of the 147-kilometer north south commuter railway, ambitious extensions to LRT 1, and the new interfaces with the congested but indispensable MRT 3, and the bold sweep of bridges and highways seeking to knit the patchwork of the city together. In the background, the blueprints of a new international airport begin to take on concrete form, representing not just a transfer hub, but a statement of intent. Metro Manila is no longer content to be a bottleneck at the heart of the Philippines. Instead, it is being shaped into a switchyard, an active living node that redirects energy, resources, and crucially, opportunity. This is a strategic play aimed at dissolving the old constraints. The checkerboard sprawl of the metropolis, ringed by 16 separate cities, is being reimagined so that people can actually live where there is space, beyond the crushing density of Manila proper, while still being able to work where there is growth and promise. No longer must a day begin and end in resignation, surrendering hours to traffic that crawls but never flows. The hope and the premise behind billions of dollars in infrastructure spending is to liberate the city from its own gridlock and let people reclaim time that has, for decades, been quietly stolen by the daily commute. To understand why these interventions are both necessary and urgent, you have to start with the stubborn geography of Manila. The city is diminutive for a national capital, about four-fifths the size of Luxembourg City, yet it must absorb the impact of a population measured in tens of millions. The weight of this reality is felt everywhere, in every pothole and every bottleneck. Manila's post-war rebirth was a patchwork of emergency repairs and improvisations. Deep wounds inflicted by earthquakes, typhoons, and floods were bandaged over rather than healed, while urban planning always lagged a decade behind the demands of the present. The cityscape bears the scars of this history. Informal settlements mushroom in places designed to channel floodwater, straining a system never intended to bear such burdens. Hospitals are crammed, prisons overflow, and roads buckle beneath the weight of a rising car culture that was never truly accounted for in the city's plans. The verdict is relentless and quantifiable. TomTom's congestion index lays bare the lived experience of every commuter. A routine 10-kilometer drive, nothing by the standards of less crowded capitals, can swallow half an hour with ease, and in moments of gridlock, time itself seems to break down. Manila's arteries are sclerotic, and the city's metabolism has slowed almost to a standstill. But the idea of relieving the pressure on Manila is not a new one. The Philippines has wrestled with its geography before. In the mid 20th century, the government tried to shift the nation's center of gravity eastward by constructing Quezon City as a new capital. It was envisioned as a place that would absorb not just government functions, but people and the rhythm of national life itself. For a time, Quezon City did hold the title and the promise, but the momentum faltered as budgets evaporated, government agencies scattered, and the connective tissue, the lifelines of transport and infrastructure, failed to grow with the dream. The lesson, written in the fate of Quezon City, is harsh but inescapable. Moving a nameplate on a government building does not move the people if there is no way for them to follow. Without true connectivity, the gravitational pull of old Manila reasserts itself, drawing everything back into its orbit. In 2017, a new national ambition crystallized. Build, build, build. This wasn't just a slogan, but a coordinated assault on the inertia that had held the country back. The government unveiled a portfolio of mega projects meant to modernize every artery of transport, logistics, and energy. The Skyway Stage 3 finally bridged the historic divide between North and South expressways, stitching together neighborhoods and economies long separated by choked surface roads. Harbor Link broke open a new freight corridor, letting goods move with a speed and efficiency that Manila had never known. New airports in Cebu and Bohol didn't just funnel in tourists. They signaled a new philosophy that infrastructure could be a tool for unleashing the country's potential. In the heart of the capital, though, the stakes were highest and the challenges most daunting. Here, the project of the century was finally pried loose from the realms of plans and into reality: the Metro Manila subway. To tunnel beneath a hyper-built, flood-prone city To bore through layers of history and infrastructure with minimal disruption demanded more than engineering. It demanded vision and political will. The work is slow, difficult, and sometimes invisible, but the rewards are generational. If successful, this vast undertaking will not merely trim minutes from commutes. It will buy back time itself, cleanse the air, expand the horizons of economic mobility, and perhaps, for the first time in living memory, allow Metro Manila to grow without being suffocated by its own success. Financing, design, and know how came together with Japan's backing through JICA, plus a consortium of Japanese firms renowned for tunneling under seismic cities. Earthquake resilient systems, TBMs built for Manila's soils, and station designs that interlock with existing lines, this is surgery beneath a living patient. The goal: deliver Japan grade reliability in a city that needs it yesterday. Japan's involvement in Manila's subway project isn't simply the writing of checks or the dispatch of consultants. It is a transfer of a national philosophy, a culture of resilience born from building beneath cities shaped by tremors and typhoons. Through JICA, decades of expertise arrive in Manila, embodied by a cadre of engineers and architects who have spent their careers boring tunnels beneath cities that sway and shake with the Earth's movements. Their approach is never merely about concrete and steel, but about engineering that anticipates disaster before it arrives. In Manila, their task is daunting. A living city sprawled across floodplains, with water pressing from below and the ever-present risk of earthquakes overhead. Specialized tunnel boring machines designed to navigate Manila's tricky and waterlogged subsoil arrive from Japanese factories, as do resilient systems engineered to keep trains running when the ground trembles or the rains turn streets into rivers. Every station is plotted not as an isolated node but as a part of a living network, interlocking with the patchwork of lines that already pulse beneath the city, minimizing disruption while promising a standard of reliability Manila's commuters have never known. If flyovers are infrastructure you can Instagram, subways are the kind you feel. Beneath traffic and floodplains, crews bore twin tunnels, pour diaphragms, and thread stations between foundations and utilities without shutting down the city above. Every meter is a negotiation with water tables, right-of-way, and the clock. Property expropriation and resettlement remain thorny, but the line's spine continues to take shape. The engineering challenge is not just in what is built, but in what must remain unseen. The labor is not crowned with arches or monuments visible from the streets. It unfolds in the wet darkness beneath the city, where men and machines move through clay and stone, advancing meter by meter as the city above carries on, mostly unaware. In Manila, the tunneling is a delicate negotiation with a city that refuses to pause. Beneath busy boulevards and densely packed neighborhoods, teams pour concrete for diaphragms that form the backbone of stations, careful always to avoid rupturing the delicate webs of utilities, water, gas, electricity, and telecom that snake through the city's underbelly. Each day's progress is hard-won, as shifting soil and high water tables force constant adjustments, and the challenge of property expropriation and resettlement hovers over every section. Still, the line advances, a reinforced steel and concrete spine pushing forward, sometimes by mere meters, sometimes by the hard-won length of a tunnel segment, as the shape of the future emerges in the dark. Average Manileños lose over 100 hours a year to congestion. Reclaim even a fraction of that, multiplied across millions, and you don't just shorten commutes, you expand a workforce, lift productivity, and give families their evenings back. Plug that into a region-wide rail web, and you transform Manila from a single heat island into an archipelago of access. The arithmetic of the subway's promise is not simply about trains and stations, it is about time, that most precious and easily squandered of urban resources. Congestion is more than an inconvenience. It is a thief quietly robbing the people of Manila of over 100 hours a year, minutes trickling away in gridlocked traffic, lives measured in the slow crawl of jeepneys and buses across jammed boulevards. The promise of the subway is the promise of reclaimed hours, of lives gently rewound so that evenings can be spent at home instead of in the glow of brake lights. When this is multiplied across a population of millions, the scale of transformation is profound. What is returned is not just time, but possibility. Productivity rises as workers arrive less exhausted. Families find each other before dark, and the city's vast human potential is unlocked, no longer chained to the unpredictable rhythms of road congestion. Link this new mobility into the broader lattice of suburban rail, airport connectors, and existing lines, and Manila ceases to be a single urban furnace, instead becoming a network. A series of connected hubs where opportunity can travel as freely as people. Manila's density will still be Manila's density, but density isn't destiny if mobility changes the math. When a 2 hour drip becomes a 35-minute glide, jobs and houses decouple. Investment follows stations, neighborhoods find oxygen. With daily ridership projected in the hundreds of thousands and integration to airports, suburban rail, and legacy lines, the subway can become the gearbox that keeps the capital turning even as it grows. No single tunnel or train line can undo decades of urban compression. Manila will always be dense, always defined by the numbers that squeeze tens of thousands into each square kilometer. But the true power of the subway lies in its inability to loosen the grip of those numbers, to show that density is not a life sentence. Mobility is the math changer. When a journey that once consumed 2 hours becomes a gentle, reliable 35-minute glide beneath the city, the rigid link between where one lives and where one works begins to dissolve. Suddenly, workers are free to choose homes and neighborhoods that breathe more easily, and investors see new possibilities along the tracks, turning stations into centers of gravity for growth and revitalization. Entire districts can evolve, no longer held hostage by the tyranny of the commute. With projected daily ridership in the hundreds of thousands and seamless integration promised with every major transit line and airport, the Manila subway becomes not just another project, but the silent gearbox, the central mechanism that keeps the capital turning smoothly, quietly absorbing the shocks of population growth and giving Manila room to grow without suffocating itself. This is the Philippines' wager that a city famous for gridlock can be re-gridded underfoot, that a mega region can be rewired not by more roads but by more reach, that the most crowded capital on earth can trade standstill for flow. It won't erase every problem floods, housing, poverty, governance all demand parallel solutions. But it can buy the one resource Manila has been running out of for decades time. What part of this project impressed you most? The tunneling in a live city, the network wide integrations, or the sheer ambition to redistribute a metropolis? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching this video with us, and catch you in the next one.